an official aid organization could pay out. The investors don't have to be foundations like the UBS Foundation. They could be individuals investing in it. They could be pension funds.
But where would they get the money from to give me my 7% or higher return?
So the money that they would get is from the outcomes funder. Somebody, whether it is a government which wants to prevent girls from dropping out, or a foundation where a government doesn't have the money to do it, somebody would say it's worth paying out on success. In fact, you start with the outcomes funder, as we call it. And the outcomes funders to date have been mainly connected to governments, but there have been some foundations alongside. And there are some, like DFID in the UK, some official aid organizations which are now beginning to look at outcomes funding. So people who would have given a philanthropic donation will sometimes say, you know what, I'm prepared to pay on success and pay more on success if somebody else will put the money up and take the risk. Governments will say, you know what, I'm prepared to pay on success because if it fails, it doesn't cost me anything and we can try new things. And investors are prepared to put the money up because they're making a return. It doesn't go up and down with the stock market and they're doing something good. It's all about doing well and doing good at the same time.
Can investors lose their money?
Yes, but if they lose their money, what is it? It's a philanthropic donation, which they might have made anyway. In the venture capital business and the private equity business, when you lost money, you tore the hair out of your head. Here, if you lost your money, you say, well, look, if I had given a philanthropic donation, I'd be in the same place. And you get tax credit as if it had been a philanthropic donation in the UK now. So actually, it should take off faster than venture capital did, because on the downside, you've been philanthropic. You haven't been a poor investor.
Social Impact Bond หรือพันธบัตรการลงทุนเพื่อสังคมเป็นการระดมทุนจากนักลงทุนทั่วไปที่ต้องการจะเอาเงินไปลงทุนในพันธบัตรเพื่อสนับสนุนการแก้ปัญหาสังคมต่างๆอย่างเช่น Peterborough Prison Social Impact Bond ซึ่งเป็นพันธบัตรการลงทุนเพื่อสังคมอันแรกที่มีออกมาเมื่อเดือนกันยายนปี 2010 พันธบัตรนี้มีจุดประสงค์เพื่อลดการกระทำผิดซ้ำสำหรับนักโทษชายที่ถูกปล่อยตัวจากเรือนจำ Peterborough ซึ่งมีจำนวนมากถึง 1,000 คน Peterborough Prison Social Impact Bond สามารถระดมทุนได้มากถึง 5 ล้านปอนด์เพื่อสนับสนุนทางการเงินให้แก่องค์กรการกุศล 6 แห่งที่ทำงานด้านนี้
For the social bond in 2010 to prevent reoffending by male prisoners, how did that work and why was it so successful?
We focused on the area of prisoners because it's a major issue. Two-thirds of prisoners in the UK go back to prison, but it's a major issue across the world. I'm sure the figures for young prisoners would be similar in Thailand or anywhere else. And the information around prisoners exists on police computers. So you have a lot of information about what they've done before, what they do after, and so on and so forth. We brought together 3 or 4 organizations, not-for-profits, which up until then had existed on donations, trying to help these prisoners. The first thing we realized is that bringing £5 million to them was a big amount of money. For them to raise £5 million in donations was huge. The second thing we realized is, for historic reasons, each of these organizations had focused on a different aspect of the problem without bringing a total solution. To simplify, one was dealing with the prisoner in prison, one was dealing with the prisoner at the gate, one was dealing with the prisoner trying to get a job. We brought them all together in one room in the prison called the One Service. When the prisoner comes in, it's as if the prisoner is dealing with a single organization. And they began to focus on how do we manage to achieve a sufficient improvement that we can pay 7% on a bond which could make between 2 and 12%, or 2 and 13%, according to the agreement with the government. So all of a sudden, everybody is focused on the same issue. The information that they generated on how many prisoners wanted to be helped, how many of the prisoners had a housing issue, how many had a drug problem, how many had a broken family problem, began to help them to focus on a more effective solution to the problem. And the result of it is that the government has now changed the whole of the probation system. One of the strange things that existed before, prison management was not responsible for the reoffending rate. Prison management looked at cost per prisoner, to simplify, and looked at violent incidents in the prison. Now the focus is changing. Under the new reorganization of the probation office and of the prison system, there is an effort for prison management now to be measured according to the reoffending rate. So actually, what the first social impact bond has proved is you bring more effective solutions, you create new benchmarks for government, you provide government with information of how to improve policy, and you pay a return to investors. So very powerful. And government didn't take the risk. Government transferred the risk of loss of the £5 million to, in this particular case, to a set of charitable foundations and individuals who put the £5 million up.
Bridges Ventures เป็นอีกหนึ่งองค์กรเพื่อการลงทุนทางสังคมที่เซอร์ Ronald Cohen ร่วมก่อตั้งขึ้นในปี 2002 Bridges Ventures จะบริหารจัดการกองทุนที่ให้ผลตอบแทนทางการเงินแก่ผู้ลงทุนควบคู่ไปกับการก่อให้เกิดผลประโยชน์ทางสังคมอย่างเช่น Sustainable Growth Fund เป็นกองทุนที่นำเงินลงทุนที่ได้มาลงทุนในกิจการที่สร้างผลกระทบที่ดีให้กับสังคมโดย Bridges Ventures จะร่วมให้คำปรึกษาในการดำเนินกิจการให้ประสบความสำเร็จด้วย
So Ronald, you founded the Bridges Ventures as well. What are some of the successful investments?
I co-founded Bridges Ventures with Michelle Giddens and Philip Newborough in 2002. I think probably the most eloquent example is a company called The Gym. Now, to join a gym costs a lot of money in Britain. Costs about £66 a month. Bridges Ventures started a company called The Gym, located in poorer areas. The gyms are very big. They have 200 machines in, 15,000 square feet. Open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, so people who work on shifts and so on can manage to go there at any time. No frills, no swimming pool, no spa, no changing rooms. The cost of membership is £14.99, a quarter, less than a quarter of the cost of a normal gym. 6,000 people are members of the gym in each gym. There are now 30 gyms. 40% of those using the gym, 30 to 40%, have never been able to afford a gym before. And the company is worth more than £100 million now. So here is an example of investing through a social venture fund and creating companies located in poor areas that provide a real service to the populations that surround them, and at the same time deliver an excellent financial return. So even if you begin to think in terms of venture capital, you can see an impact venture capital segment doing these types of things.
เราได้ทำความรู้จักและเข้าใจรูปแบบของการลงทุนเพื่อสังคมกันมาบ้างแล้วนะคะสำหรับในตอนนี้แต่ว่ายังไม่จบค่ะสัปดาห์หน้าเราจะคุยกับเซอร์ Ronald Cohen กันต่อเกี่ยวกับความเคลื่อนไหวที่น่าสนใจในสหราชอาณาจักรรวมถึงมาดูด้วยนะคะว่าในบ้านเราเองประเทศไทยมีความก้าวหน้าเกี่ยวกับการลงทุนเพื่อสังคมมากน้อยขนาดไหนค่ะพบกันสัปดาห์หน้าวันนี้สวัสดีค่ะ